someone might call some like a Democrat or Republican extreme because they have this social program or they have this immigration program. But I think it's really important that the type of extremism that we're talking about and that we're concerned about is the type of extremism that goes outside of the rule of law, right? Is that
That's
a good
right.
way to frame it?
Yeah, and I like extremism. If you were to look it up as a definition, in Webster's, like one of the definitions is something that's outside of the mainstream, right? It's on the edges, and so you can certainly talk about an extremist policy, meaning this is like there are only 2% of US citizens that support this policy. Like it's
Yeah.
extremist in that it's not representative of what the American people want. And I'm not saying that politicians can't talk about it that way. It's just that in the world that I operate in, where we're countering violent extremism, we're not talking about extremist policies. We're talking about people who have
Yeah.
embraced an ideology that the only solution involves hostile action. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a very
Yeah.
different type of extremism than applying the term to, say, a policy matter
Mm-hmm.
or I mean, even look historically, you could take some of some beliefs that we think are the norm. They are the mainstream right now, such as that we're all created equal. Like
Yeah.
that was extreme 1,000 years ago. No,
Yep.
the 1,000 years ago there was a king that was ordained by God and maybe even semi-deified, and depending on your where you were living, and basically there's a hierarchy, and like the
Mm-hmm.
serfs, yeah, no, they are not the same as the
Yeah.
king. But in American value system, like we were founded on this kind of radical idea that all men are created equal.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of bucked, 2,000 years of how human beings organized themselves and said, we're going to try this self-government
Yeah.
thing. Like, and
Yeah.
that was crazy. That was an extremist idea at the
Mm-hmm.
time. And now it is like one of our most cherished
Yeah.
values as Americans. So having an extremist idea in that broader context, nothing wrong with that. Like sometimes really great
Yeah.
things come out with things that are not in the mainstream. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the violent extremists,
Yeah.
in that Berger
And
definition, the way we apply the term.
yeah, and I would say that the violent extremist is actually antithetical to that core value, right?
It is.
In the sense that in a different society, maybe in the Roman Empire, like that type of thing, they were, I mean, they were very against insurrections. They kind of mastered like shutting them down. But in terms of, yeah, it's the cultural context and the values, and then whether the violence is actually a good thing or a bad thing, because there are cultures around the world that the violence actually is valorized, right?
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.